Hey guys, I get the questions a lot of times with people when people find out that I've got three kids that are hunting right now about calibers, good rifles for them to shoot, calibers to start out with, rest, all kind of different things. How to make it easier and better for your kid to go hunting. I mean, back in the day, we started off. I mean, I started off using a 12 gauge shotgun with buckshot. Okay. Some of you started off using a 410 with slugs or a 20 gauge with slugs. Um, these days, there's a lot better options as far as setups to get kids hunting. But talking about, I guess what I want to mention right now is first off, everybody. All right, what I want to get my kid hunting. What's the best caliber for them? Well, the old answer was usually always 243. That's just what people went to, and that's it's a great caliber and it's fine. It does have on it is a smaller bullet. You're there in the 85 to 100 grain range bullets, and to me that is on the lighter side, especially with kids. And if it is a marginal shot placement. But my oldest that's hunting right now, she's 14 now. She started hunting when she was 8, and that is what we started her on, was a 243. But she made really good shots. She dropped the first 5 or 6 deer that she shot, but she was shooting them in the high shoulder. But we did start her off. One thing, before I get too far, one thing that I started her off on was one of these tripod rests by Caldwell. So I do recommend those. You can set those up in a ground blind. You can set those up in most box stands. As long as the windows aren't too high, you can usually raise it all the way up, and it'll get out the window. But those are excellent for starting kids out. Really builds their confidence up, holds the weight of the gun for them, really gets them to the point of feeling confident shooting at an animal to take an ethical shot, and gets them. Now my daughter's 14, and this year she cut a 125-inch 11 point out of a box stand by herself. She was able to control her rifle. She's been hunting long enough. She knows all the safety stuff, and she's able to handle that rifle by herself. This is actually the rifle she used. It's just a 308, 308 in the Ruger American Predator. One thing before we get back to the calibers, that I started this year with all my kids is these cheek risers, these cheek rest risers. And these are actually foam, so they're not the hard plastic ones. And they have different size foam inserts with them, so you can kind of customize them to your kid, but they're a lot more comfortable than the hard plastic, cold plastic. So it gives them a little leeway. They can press harder or softer. But that's what my 14-year-old's using. So, when you're talking about kids hunting, it's all about, well, how old is your kid? Because I have from a 6-year-old hunting to a 14-year-old hunting. My 14-year-old, last year she started using my 6.5. This year she used this 308. So she's good. She's good up to those short action rifle calibers. I really, my 12-year-old daughter is using this 7mm 08. It's also in a Ruger American, but it is the compact model. And with her, I've always, with my older daughter and with her, with that 7mm 08, and you can also get these in the 308 too. Hornady makes an excellent custom light round that instead of shooting 140 or 150 grain bullet, and it's shooting 125 or 120 grain SST bullet. Excellent bullet for in the 308 and the 7mm 08. Really gets the recoil back down to a 243, but you're in a heavier caliber or heavier bullet. So I really like those. She's got the cheek rest on hers also. But what about those younger kids? Because I've got a 6-year-old right now that's hunting. He killed, uh, I guess, a doe and his first buck, spike buck, and then we just making him go up each time. He killed a little 4-point this year, little split beam 4-point, but he's shooting a 300 blackout. Now, I really like the 300 blackout for those younger, when you're talking about really getting your kids started. And different people have their different opinions, and that's what makes America great. But from my experience hunting with my kids and seeing him be able to, now he can't pick this rifle up and freehand it. I don't even feel comfortable with him like just holding this stand with just one rest on the front end. I really like having it in this like in this Caldwell tripod rest, or one stand that we have. I just have a bench made with carpet on it, that the complete weight of the rifle, everything except what's past the trigger guard right here, all of this from here to the front is all resting on that carpeted, and it's just shooting flat down a lane. So he was able to shoot one deer. The other 2 deer he shot out of this tripod. But this Ruger American is the compact model, and you just have to, and it is still a slightly long for him. I do have the scope pulled back pretty good bit, but he is able to shoulder it and reach around and be able to get to the trigger. But the 300 blackout, we're using the Deer Season XP. It's a 150 grain bullet, an excellent bullet for deer. He shot a doe out to 120 yards this year, and she ran maybe 15 yards. Really excellent round to me. I would just rather him be shooting a 150 grain bullet. We're not going to be shooting 200 to 250 yard shots. So this 300 blackout, the ballistics on it, energy and all those things, really similar to a 30-30. So those of you that grew up shooting a 30-30, but this is going to have less recoil than a little bit less recoil than a 30-30. And probably a lot more cartridge choices. So that is what we use, from my 6-year-old to my 12-year-old to my 14-year-old. We still have a 243, but we're not using it right now, just because I think we've come up with some better options that still keep the recoil down. I like a little bit heavier bullets. It gives them a little bit better. But what about as far as practice goes? One thing that we had started off with was, this is just a Ruger 1022 that I put just a cheaper Black Hawk adjustable stock on, and you can see this is before I ordered the cheek pads. It's for him to rest his cheek on. And if you wondered about that, guys, their little heads are so small, the distance between where their cheek ought to be resting on the stock of the rifle and where the eyepiece is for the scope. If you notice, that's why most kids, when they're in a stand, and if you've been with a kid hunting, their biggest problem, their biggest issue is finding that animal in the scope. My son is always, he said, well, I can't find it. There's a black spot, or the shadow keeps following me. And they can't get in the view of that scope and line their eye up with the crosshairs. And they're still trying to learn to move that gun around instead of moving their eye around. But when you give them something to rest their cheek on, it just helps them hold steady, and they realize they've got to move the gun around to find the deer. But this is one option, because all of these guns, whether it's a 1022, I'll show you another gun that we use to practice with. This is just a Gammo air rifle, but this thing shoots 1,000 feet per second. Really good for practicing. But the thing is it's made for an adult, or it's made for a teenager. It's got a normal size stock on it. So what I did is I cut about 4 inches off the stock, and I took a 1/4 inch piece of oak plywood and just made a butt plate for it, and put a cheek rest on it. And so now my 4 and my 6-year-old can shoot this. And with ammo prices today, and not even being able to buy 22 ammunition, well, you can go you can still go find 177 caliber pellets and let them still practice before next deer season. So just from an experience from a dad who's got 3 kids hunting, we've been blessed as far as harvesting deer and not making bad shots. We've had, I think, out of my 3 kids, and probably about 25 deer over the years that have been shot at. I think we've missed 2 outright and have wounded 1. So that's not too bad, but I will tell you, it takes a lot of prep work and a lot of practice ahead of time to get those kids to feel comfortable about making an ethical shot. So hope that helps any of you dads out there that are looking for calibers for your kids. If you've got any questions, just comment or send me an email. Let me know, and I'll try to get back with you. And I can try to get you the links to any of these things, or at least descriptions for you. Hope that helps.